In today's lesson, we're going to review some of the Keystone exam topics that have not been covered in our algebra class yet this year. So, one of the big sections at the end of the Keystone review is data analysis, and we have several different ways that we can review data and gather information from our data. One of those common measures is of central tendency. Each of these starts with the letter M, and I would believe that you have seen these words before. The three common measures of central tendency are known as mean, median, and mode. As far as the mean is another word for the average. In order to find the average of our data, we have to find the sum of all the numbers. So you will add all data values, then divide by the number of values. So if we have 5 data values, we would divide by 5. If we have 20 data values, we'll divide by 20. We add all the numbers together and then divide by how many numbers there are, and that will give us the average, which is also known as the mean, one of the first measures of central tendency. As far as the median goes, this is the middle number. In order to find the median, we will list the numbers in order from least to greatest and find the middle. Now, as far as the mode goes, the MO helps us remember that the mode is the number that occurs the most. There's not really any specific way that we have to find the mode. We just have to look at the list and see if there's one number that occurs more than all of the others. It is possible that there is no mode. If all of the numbers only occur one time, then there's no mode. If you have multiple numbers that appear twice, there's no mode. You have to have one number that occurs more than all of the others, and in that case, you would then have a mode. Now, the fourth measure that typically is taught along with mean, median, and mode is the word range. Now, we have learned one definition of range this year, but range in terms of central tendency and dispersion is really the measure of the spread of data. In order to find the range, we will subtract the highest and lowest data value. This will allow us to see how far apart our data values are. So for the range, subtract the highest and the lowest data values. Now, we need to understand these 4 concepts in order to help us answer questions. And typically, the way that these are brought up on the Keystone exam is using some kind of graph or table that we have to find the data from. One of the types of data that they like to show is a stem and leaf plot. So a stem and leaf plot, something you may have seen on a standardized test before, looks a little something like this. So you have the stem and you have a leaf, and essentially they have broken up the numbers. And it's helpful if you read the key so you can understand what these numbers are. So really in this list we have the number 56, 67, 67, 69, 72, 74, 77, and so on. So we end up with a total amount of numbers as a part of this stem and leaf plot. And the nice thing about the stem and leaf plot is you may notice that it is already in order from least to greatest. You start with the number 56, you end with the number 94, and that's helpful in order to find our median and our range. So to start this, the question says, what are the mean, median, mode, and range of the class averages shown in the stem and leaf plot below? So you can see these averages are percentages, so they're showing grades for this class period. Now, the range, in my opinion, and the mode are the two easier terms to find first. So I would say let's focus on those to begin. In order to find the range, we would take the highest number, which in this case is 94, and subtract the lowest number from it, which in this case is 56. So if you need to use your calculator, you may want to get that open at this point, and we would subtract 94 and 56, and that would give us a range of 38 for this table of values. Now, as far as the mode goes, we want to look for the number that occurs the most. If you look through the table, I see two 67s, I see two 77s, I see two 82s, but I don't see anything that occurs more than twice. So, since we have three different numbers that are occurring twice, there's not one specific value that occurs more than the other. So in that situation, we would say none for the mode. There just is not a number that occurs more often than any of the others. As far as the mean and the median, all right, the mean, we want to add the number of data values here all together. So we're going to look at our chart and we're going to start to add all these numbers. We have 56 plus 67 plus 67 plus 69 plus 72 plus 74 plus 77 plus 77 plus 78, and so on as I type in the rest of these numbers. So we'll add all these numbers in the 80s. We have 81, 82, another 82, 83, 84, 88. Then we have four numbers in the 90s, 90, 92, 93, and 94. So lots to add here. Rather than writing them all out when there's such a long list like this, I will just type them in my calculator as I've shown you here. We're going to press enter, and I get 1,506 as the sum of this list of data. So that number will go on the top. On the bottom, I have to figure out how many data values I have. In order to do that, we really just have to count the number of leaves in our table. So if I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 is what I get here. Let me just double check. Looks right. So we'll take those two numbers on our calculator and we will divide 1506 by 19, and that will give us a mean of 79.26. Now, I did not specify any specific rounding here, so we'll just round to one decimal place. 79.3% would be the mean of our data here in the stem and leaf plot. Now, last but not least, as far as the median goes, we will look at the leaf column again. In order to find the median, we need to list them in order from least to greatest, which they already are, and then we want to cross off the numbers, the highest and the lowest data value until we get to the middle. Now, if it's more confusing for you to do that amongst the leaf plot, you could write out this whole list and then start to cross off the beginning and the end. I like to do it right from the leaf plot, so we'll cross off our lowest and our highest. Lowest and highest. You just have to be careful to make sure you're crossing off the correct numbers. And you'll continue to cross off your highest and your lowest values until you come down to the middle. Now, one quick way to check if you have found the middle number is count the amount of leaves you've crossed off before it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And make sure you've crossed off 9 leaves after that number as well. And it looks like we have, so then you can be sure that you have found this middle number. So this middle number here is 81. That would be the median of our set of data in the stem and leaf plot. So we can take these 4 concepts, apply them to the stem and leaf plot here, and find an answer to any questions about the mean, median, mode, and range. All 4 concepts that you should be familiar with from previous math classes, but you maybe not have used recently in our algebra course. All right, on the back side, we have some information on quartiles. And this is something that's going to come up amongst a box and whisker plot. So if you think of the word quartile, I hope that you can see the word quarter amongst this term. And in terms of a quartile, basically it is a quarter of a set of data. And we will take that a little bit further when we start to talk about each specific type of quartile during our lesson tomorrow, and then we'll be able to apply this information to example number 2, as well as the box and whisker plot, which is another type of tool we can use to analyze our data. So we'll stop there for today. We will continue talking about quartiles when we introduce our box and whisker plot during tomorrow's lesson. If you have any questions, please let me know, but otherwise we will continue our review during the class period tomorrow.